It's We've Been Watching with Claire Woodward and David Stevenson. How are you, Claire?
Very good, thank you. It's been a funny old week on television, hasn't it? But not as funny as if you're working for the BBC this week.
No, I
Because you
think
might,
that's got a little bit too serious, hasn't it? All of a sudden, they're losing channels.
yes, I know, and I mean I know they're saying things like see BBC and BBC Four will go online only, but will people seek them out in a digital first BBC?
Well, I'm not so sure. I mean, someone put it to me this week that why didn't they actually create with BBC Four a BritBox style streaming channel for all the repeats and all the archive material have? They just don't think laterally, do they? Sometimes I think the BBC. I mean, they've got so many programs that people would love to watch that we've already paid for. Shock.
Yes, that's very true. I mean, I'm always going on about why not have more and more old repeats, and then people say, well, clearance is a massive issue. Um, you might not be able to get the clearance for stuff, but what do I know? I'm only a journalist, but it does seem to me sometimes the BBC should be talking a bit more to outside organisations about what to do next instead of sort of too much navel gazing.
Yeah, absolutely. They do seem a bit bereft of ideas, I think, really. I mean, I know they've got to save money, and that's important, and it's got to be value for money, hasn't it, for the license fee payer? But
Mm.
they still have a stock of so many programs that we don't have access to. It just seems a simple thing to me now in the digital age to have an easier way to process them, because a lot of people who probably aren't on the internet, I mean, these people do exist still watching linear TV. So it seems
Mm.
ridiculous to get rid of slots on linear TV, really.
Well, I think so. And bearing in mind, as we people like us keep telling Nadine Dorries, it's a massive industry. Television is a huge industry in the UK. And it's all very well saying, Netflix are building studios and putting lots into production. It's like, well, Netflix isn't doing very well now. So they could quite easily pull programming. Um, so the BBC, should I think be waving a flag for British production? But if it's not making any more programs or less programs, it doesn't really bode well for British broadcasting as a whole.
No, I mean, we do need a strong BBC. We need a BBC that's creative, definitely. Um, which probably brings us to our first program of the week, Silent Witness, which, of course, has been around for 25 years. Is it 25 years?
It's 25 series. I mean, whizzing through the Silent Witness page on the iPlayer, it's just like, wow, 25 series. That is a lot of series. I mean, I can't think of any other long drama that's run as long as that. Can you?
I can't really. Do you think that deserves one of my new sound effects?
Probably. Well, Silent Witness production team. But I have to say, I haven't watched it since Amanda Burton was in it playing the lead pathologist. So it's very comforting to be able to see Amanda Burton again in this new series.
I mean, it was quite a high octane plot, wasn't it? We had, I don't know whether this was a political thing, but we had a health secretary gunned down in cold blood in Liverpool, and it was all over health passports and data. It seemed like on paper, it seemed like the dullest plot imaginable. Let's have a controversy over some health data and then see what happens.
Yeah, and I thought as well, oh, filming in Liverpool as well. That's the BBC's commitment to the regions ticked off as well. But I found it really weird to watch it again because I haven't watched many series lately of Silent Witness, and it just seemed really funny to see Northern Irish Sam back doing her best thick accent and not being very nice. That was a bit of a blow.
Well, it was, but also I thought that the continuity announcer gave it away at the start of the program by saying, "But can she be trusted?" I mean, this is so we had the whole first episode was all about her, just sort of nudging in and being a little bit sort of dissembling in the slab room, if you like, and trying to sort of outdo Nikki. But I thought Nikki Alexander Amelia Fox got the upper hand when she took out the stomach. Oh my God, this is like watching an abattoir, isn't it? Took out the contents of the stomach and started squeezing them out on television, in front of an audience in the sort of slab room as well. I mean, going, oh God, I think she's had half a cider.
Yeah, I thought that was really classy. Cider and peanuts sitting on a bench outside. Terrific, very classy stuff for the health minister. And it was. I mean, has it always been that gory, David? Because you did see the health minister on the slab, and it was pretty. It looked like a butcher's shop.
It did. It's like maximum post-mortem on that show now. And I think it has pretty much been that. And I think the audience is used to the gore factor. I mean, really, that first cadaver's on the slab and all the flesh had been peeled off. And we're just peering into someone's sort of vacant chest cavity, really. I mean, I don't know. Are we more used to this and we can sort of take it as an audience? If you'd done that 10 years ago, I think people would have thought it's a bit much. But we're just so accustomed to having someone on the post-mortem table like that. I don't know. Did you find it too gory?
Well, I was quite surprised to see that amount of butchery, really. But I mean, you say you're looking into a sort of vacant cadaver. Well, it makes a change from looking into sort of vacant minds on so much reality TV. So I guess it's different. And it is a classy drama series, I have to say. I think Emilia Fox brings some real style to it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's well directed. I mean, it was well set. The acting is good, but I still find it, I don't know, a little bit unconvincing. And the other thing I don't like about it is the plotting, because again, a lot of the plot just arrives when something happens. I know something's got to happen, but you don't expect that to be the clue all the time.
I see what you mean, because I've watched the sort of second episode, and when one of the team is just going about Liverpool, and she just happens to be looking for things, and she suddenly finds a can of cider in a bin.
No.
And it's just like, and it turns out to have the DNA of the health minister on it, and you just think, this is so improbable. I mean, it's possible, but it's so improbable. It just struck me as quite laughable, actually.
No, that's totally laughable. I mean, there is a trend to this, and we'll get on to Grace, but there's of no detection in this. I mean, I know this is a forensic, but the clues just shouldn't turn up as happenstance, going, oh gosh, look, I think we've solved this. There's 5 minutes to go. Isn't that convenient?
Isn't that convenient? And also, as well, I do think, and I realise it's a serious drama about forensics, but it's, to me, the episodes I saw were absolutely, utterly po-faced. And we do know that people who work in jobs like this do have quite a dark sense of humour, and we don't. Certainly, from the episodes I've seen in the new series, we don't see any of that. And I think that's a bit of a shame, because it just struck me as so utterly po-faced.
No, totally. I mean, God, if there's going to be any gallows humour, it's going to be in a post-mortem room, isn't it, for goodness sake?
Yeah. What are you having for tea? Sausages. Oh, it looks just like a colon. Yeah, that kind of thing. Yeah.
But the other thing that got me was completely bizarre. Here's this health secretary sort of gunned down in cold blood, and everyone's all very shocked about it. But then they went looking for the bullet to try and establish what the cause of death was. I mean, I can tell you the cause of death. She was gunned down.
Thank you, Dr. Stevenson. Well, I mean, we haven't seen a sort of minister being gunned down since The Bodyguard, have we?
No, I mean, was it just so naffly? Did you think it was deliberately naffly political, this, having not only a health secretary, but whole issues to do with our health data and any privacy to do with it? Was that deliberate, do you think?
Well, I mean, I probably think so. I think they're probably trying to be sort of well on trend, because let's face it, after 25 series, you've got to find something a bit new to write about, haven't you? And I suppose this is, ragingly contemporary health stuff, and it's probably commissioned. When do you think, David? Pre-COVID, post-COVID, during COVID?
Maybe just as COVID. I think probably they started filming, maybe 18 months ago, really. I mean, all these things take a long time to get there now. But then the script was, they were hand feeding them with the script. I mean, this terrible line that they had when they were talking to the victim's husband in hospital, and Sam Ryan goes, yeah, big tech is all about data. Okay, gee, thanks for that. We didn't realize that.
Well, maybe it's part of BBC's, inform, educate, and entertain. But I thought it was a bit of a waste of Hugh Corshi as well, unless he's going to come into a major role towards the end of the series.
Yeah,
Because
he's very good, isn't he? He's a bit of class,
mm,
definitely.
mm, mm.
Well, I don't. I'm only going to give. I'm just going to give that a pass of 3.5 stars. Really, there we are.
Yes, well, I would say three because and I do think as well that if you were dropping in, as I have been after not seeing the series for a while, I did feel a bit adrift. When Sam's ex-husband popped up, I don't think there's enough explanation. So for me, it's a three.
It's a three. Gosh, I mean, no one's going to be flocking to this, are they? Anyway, I mean, what we'll move on to. There were forensic pathologists. I can't say it for want of amber liquid or whatever was found in that stomach. But we had Grace as well with Roy's girlfriend or sort of one-time girlfriend, pathology technician Cleo Morey as well, Zoe Tapper,
Hmm.
sort of chatting again over the corpse, wondering why he hadn't run, which was terrible for him.
Oh, I suppose even pathologists have to have a love life as well, I guess. But this was the last in the series, wasn't it, of Grace?
It was, and we had a cliffhanger, didn't we? Are we going to spoil it?
Well, everybody would have seen it now, won't they? But it was that Grace's disappeared wife may still be alive. Da, da, da. Have you got a sound
Hang on,
effect for that?
I've got no. Just do that again, and we'll do the drum roll first. Here it is.
That's fantastic stuff. It's amazing what we can do with a bit of podcast technology, isn't it? But
Yes, I
it
mean,
did make me think, wow, what's going to happen in the next series? Because I have enjoyed this series of Grace, and I did particularly enjoy this final episode because I thought it was a bit silent witnessy, wasn't it? Heavy on the pathology.
yeah, it was actually. I enjoyed it as well. But again, I found the whole idea that they could track down whether it was about organ donation or not organ donation, basically organ selling, wasn't it? The harvesting
Yeah.
of organs from unsuspecting victims, basically. But then, in order to track down where the operation was being held, they said, "I'll get a list of local medical supplies." So they got a list of local medical supplies. How do you get hold of such a thing? One, and then to go, oh gosh, I think they're doing it at the Spa Hotel, so they dash there.
Maybe they'd seen the website, it was offering, not only sort of relaxing weekends, but you can have a kidney transplant as well. I mean, again, it was very contemporary though, wasn't it? Because the people who were having their organs harvested were illegal immigrants coming across in boats.
Yeah, it was classic right on television, wasn't it? There's nothing wrong with that, but contemporary is probably, yeah, you're absolutely right, probably a better use of it. But you could see that it's developing now with a nice backstory of this relationship and how he'll contend with this all, if at all. I wonder. I don't think this plays out in the books in this fashion. So this is all the work of our wonderful script writer Russell Lewis, I imagine.
Yeah, because he does make things incredibly human. I think this is why I was just a bit, when they announced this week that it was going to be the last series of Endeavour, because Lewis does really make you invest you in the characters. You really care about them. I'm dreading what's going to happen to Fred Thursday in the final episode because I love him and I think he's wonderful.
He's a great character, isn't he? He's been sort of coughing stuff up for ages, or clearing his throat, and you go, "Oh God, what's going to happen?" For quite some time, hasn't he? No, I share your dread for what is going to happen to that character. I hope they leave it open. Really, I was just wondering the other day: is there any other sequel, prequel from Morse that they can actually do?
Morse's parents, we don't know what about his parents. We don't know anything about them, do we?
Yeah,
Or
that could be a
maybe
nice.
more.
It could be a nice
Yeah.
ITV series with them sitting in the front room watching ITV3.
Or maybe we will discover that Morse had a secret love child or something.
Who happens to be in the Met and just starting his career in the Met, or her starting her career in the Met.
Imagine
Yeah,
my surprise.
God,
Yeah.
it's endless, isn't it? But will Grace replace Endeavour for you? I don't think it will for me.
Well, I have to say, no, it really won't, because for me, Endeavour's got everything. It's got the nostalgia, it's got really terrific acting in it, and it's got what I really love about what Russell Lewis has done with it is that he puts so much nostalgia and so much beautiful tiny detail in it that viewers of a certain age will always enjoy that. And Grace is contemporary, and I love John Sim, and I really enjoy it. But Endeavour's got a special place in my heart because of the nostalgia factor, and always because Endeavour. Sometimes we start a series going, "Is he going to have Tash this series?" Maybe you won't. I don't know, but
And
always
it always
detail.
and it's always a nice nod to Morse, isn't it? In some way, I mean, of course, I will still watch an episode of Morse if I've got nothing else to do and I can't find an episode of the Sweeney or Minder or something. But I I do enjoy the way that there are always nice touches about older characters, the characters that we miss. So I'm all for bringing stuff back to feed in. I mean, it probably will. The other one, of course, I don't know whether you caught up with a couple of weeks ago, was that Life on Mars is coming back in a form.
I mean, but that's sad for me, because the reveal for that being they're all dead has kind of been done. So what else is there to say? They've done the biggest reveal probably in the history of television. How are they going to? How can they develop that?
Well, that's going to be the trick of it, isn't it? To see whether they can find a way of how they're presented in the afterlife or something. It's going to be really interesting. But probably everybody just wants to see the characters just jump in an Audi Quattro and scream down the road in it. I don't know.
I mean, maybe they're going to have like a police station in heaven where it's going to be like, Gene Hunt's going to be investigating Napoleon Bonaparte or something like that. I mean, that's the only thing I can think of. That'd be interesting, wouldn't it? Yeah.
I'd watch that. Yeah, what Gene Hunt beating up Napoleon Bonaparte, that would get ratings.
Yeah, well, don't steal our ideas, because we're going to copyright these, yeah. But
yeah, all the ideas that were never made. So Grace will go 4 stars for me for Grace, actually.
4 from me. Well, I'm going to give it 4.5 because I just find it so. I just find it so very engaging, and John Sim is marvelous.
Absolutely right. We should move on. My low point of television for this week was dear Channel 5, who were messing around with something called Big Brits Go Large. Did you happen to watch that?
Yes, I did, because I really like programs like this. However, I found this just boring. Boring,
I'll give you. Let's have a limp bit of clapping and for that.
Yeah,
that's really all it deserves, isn't it?
Yeah, the limp clapping goes to the young woman who was trying to run a dance class in London and was trying to move it to Birmingham, and she didn't think she'd succeed, but she did.
Well Trina.
Done. Yes, well done, Trina.
I thought that was the only thing about it that was any good. I mean, the guy they were calling, what was his name? George, who they were calling a groomzilla, which was just an awful name for it. Anyway, I thought that was a low point for me because he barely had enough energy to carry his own young son around, and then he admits that I don't like walking. No joke.
Well, I mean, these are a couple who are sort of almost like serial appearers on reality TV, because I have seen them on a program before. I think it was about weight differences in relationships, and she's a very slim Aussie girl who likes big blokes and came over from Australia to meet this big bloke that doesn't like walking. I mean, how is he going to walk down the aisle? Is he going to be sort of, dragged on a tractor or in a wheelchair or something? Or will he make it that far? Because he really is a very big lad.
He'll be on a hoist, won't he? Because we've had ones. He'll be
And do
craned. He'll
you?
be craned into an. He'll be craned into open to the sky chapel of some sort, won't he?
But all these programs about overweight people, and it's lovely they're all having a lovely time. But one of the questions I want to ask is, how much do you eat every day to maintain your weight? That's the thing I'd like to know. I mean, we all know people are having a good time, because they're people, they do have a good time. But why, why particularly big? There are things about bigger people that I would actually find interesting, not just I don't like walking and I'm getting married.
I don't think you'll find those on Channel 5, though, Claire.
No, I won't, will I? No, that's a shame. Channel 5 documentaries are, I think, absolutely, superb popular television. But stuff like this, and I mean, also Channel 5 had a series this week on people in the porn industry, young women starting out in the porn industry, which I thought was really horrible. They were saying what a great life they were having and how empowered they felt. And
That
I
does
just
sound
thought,
low.
as Jimmy Nail would say, she's lying. They all looked pumped up and fake and having fake tans, and they all just seemed to be a bit dead-eyed. And I thought that was, for me, that was Channel 5's low of the week. You clearly didn't watch it, David, because your mind's on higher things. But this is really horrible, just seeing these, young women saying, "Oh, people think I'm stupid because I'm a porn star, but I speak lots of languages." And I thought, oh well, you're a cunning linguist in every level, dear. Um,
And this is the factual entertainment genre, isn't it? So it's not documentary, it's reality television mixed with some factual television with no real plot to it, isn't it? So
yes,
um,
that's it, isn't it? It's not what do they call it? Not augmented reality.
augmented reality. Well, it is sort of augmented reality because they're making them. I mean, in the case of Big Brits Go Large, he's getting married, so they go through the whole facade of him going down to choose a cake, and he's basically being coercive over the choice of cake that he wants, and it's really pathetic. So he's treated like a child as well. I mean, they need to. I think Channel 5, all right, have these subjects, but try to make a point about them as well. Don't just go, oh God, let's just make it entertaining and have some people we're going to have a laugh at. I mean, we used to criticize them a lot for doing this with series about benefits people. I mean,
Mm.
you've got to make up your mind what these shows are and whether you're saying, we shouldn't eat so much. I mean, this is really just saying eat as much as you like, have a good time, and then die.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that would be great if we could have a Channel 5 documentary on what's the burden of being overweight doing to the NHS.
Yeah, oh
That,
gosh, yeah, that's just yeah, no, we'd watch that. I mean, that'd be incredibly depressing, and they'd probably think it's not entertaining enough. But so 1 star, even half a star for that, because it was just a waste of everyone's time.
well, I mean, I'm going to give it one. I'm going to be generous, but the thing is, with things like this, I normally enjoy them, but I really shan't be back. And I just thought a Sunday slot for something like this seemed very odd to me as well. But why do I care? I won't be back.
Yeah, I mean, they're obviously quite proud of it, Channel 5, and that worries me because they've done better stuff than that, and they ought to have a look at themselves before next week, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, exactly. But because I love their history programs and Bill Nye narrating programs about railways, I love. So you can do better.
Absolutely. I thought the best piece of storytelling over the week was the new Lucy Worsley program about witch hunts. I found that completely fascinating, and I was gripped by it. It's just her ability to communicate well down the lens, isn't it? And to really make stories that you're interested in and uncover a lot of detail about witch hunts that I didn't know. I mean, are you familiar with the subject? I mean, it's not one that I was.
Well, I mean, I am a bit, but what I thought was very interesting, as you say, she showed you things we didn't know. She was focusing on the witch hunts in Scotland, which I didn't realise were massive. I mean, whenever we do a sort of British history series, it's always the Pendle witch hunts or something like that. But the fact that she took a Scottish story, I thought was genuinely something really different. And as a real history fan, I think this new series is, she is doing popular subjects like the princes in the tower and stuff like that. But even for me, who I think I know quite a bit about these things, she's teaching me something different. And I like the approach she's taking as an investigator as well. She's doing the "who do you think you are" kind of stuff, and it's just so different. And that's why I enjoyed it so much.
Yeah, it's interesting because it made me think there isn't as much history on television at the moment, and maybe that's a good thing. So I think it's interesting to come up with a different format for it as well. I was particularly um, taken in by the conversation she had with another researcher who'd looked at some local council records as towards payments that have been made, and got to the bottom of the local, which I think was Agnes Sampson, wasn't it, who was
Mm.
basically a folk healer who was set up really by the church. And was it, who was the royal, was it James VI, wasn't it,
Mm.
so that he could cover up what was going on with himself. So I mean, I found that absolutely riveting.
Yeah, that's real grassroots, proper historical research. Going back to those original sources, which is something interesting. And I think it shows that you know people could do that themselves if they wanted. I mean, I'm so delighted not to have another historical series about the Tudors. And I think there should be an absolute moratorium on Tudor stories for at least another decade, because I'm heartily sick of it. And I know in this series, I don't know if it's been broadcast yet, but she's talking about, the madness of George III. And again, she's unearthed something about, the Georgians, which don't get as much coverage as they should. And she's found out something genuinely fascinating about what made him so ill. So yeah, it's new. And as you say, she's such a brilliant communicator.
Yeah, I mean, of course, she's famous for dressing up, but in this instance, there was no dressing up at all. I was quite interesting. She was, when she went to that village that Agnes Sampson lived in, she was walking, along in a Mac with a handbag. It was like she looked a bit like Agatha Christie as a historian.
Yeah, I mean, again, that I thought was really good. I thought was really grown up because I know she's famous for doing this reenactment stuff, but she is a proper professional, well qualified historian, and I really think the dressing up was a bit beneath her. But if it brought an audience in, well, so much the better. But yeah, I like seeing her being a grown up. It's good.
Yeah, and I mean, I suppose what we're seeing in this is we're seeing the craft of being an historian, going back to local church records or local council records, and seeing what they actually reveal. I mean, really, it's the last thing you would expect to see on TV, but often now, grainier and grittier subjects are what people really want to get their teeth into, aren't they?
Yeah, I think so. And I mean, I do think maybe this is one of the reasons that COVID has changed broadcasting. It's probably one of those things people maybe have been researching their own family trees when they've been in lockdown, things like that. So maybe there is a bigger interest in things like
Yeah,
research
absolutely.
and history, and
Yeah,
when it's personal, which these stories are. It's good. It's really good.
absolutely. Well, 5 stars for me. I think that's a hit. If you can keep up enough interesting subjects, I suppose that's going to be the challenge, isn't it?
Well, this is it. But I mean, it's history, isn't it? It's endless. I mean, I'm going to give it a 4. It's not the greatest history series I've seen, but it's a real. It's very involved, and I think it's what the BBC should be doing. It's not the usual spoon feeding you things you already know. It's taking you in a different direction and making you think a bit more. So it gets the applause from me for that.
Right, let's have some cheering for that, 'cause I really did. There we are, some cheering.
Lovely,
God,
lovely, Lucy Worsley.
yeah, not that we're indulging in sort of cheap effects just for the sake of entertainment.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. As if we would do anything like that, David.
I mean, where's that going to get us? What a worldwide audience.
Oh, I think so. Yeah, I think we're going to be. I think we'll be on Amazon Music soon.
Oh, good. I'm looking forward to that. I love Amazon Music. What is it?
They're wonderful.
Let's have a quick look at next week. Of course, we've got the Jubilee happening, and we've got a lot of television Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. You'll be glued to that, won't you, Claire?
Absolutely not. I'm one of the sort of, I think the Republic organisation to abolish the monarchy have done some research that says 54% of people don't really care about the Jubilee, and I'm afraid I'm in the 54%. I mean, have you seen anything in preview, David, that tells you anything about the Queen that you don't already know?
No, not particularly. I think we mentioned the Roger Michelle documentary. I still think that one on Amazon Prime is the pick. The BBC have their own Queen Unseen on Sunday night. I've been to a preview of that. I watched it on the big screen at BAFTA, and often you're a little bit hypnotized by the big screen. I know I'm a bit of a child, so it's probably my
No,
fault.
absolutely, I agree. Yeah.
You do get sort of taken away with it, and I was. But it's 70. What's interesting? It's 75 minutes, but it stops at her coronation, and I'm sitting there going, "Are we ready for? I'm ready for episode 2 now." So the home movies go from when she was a child up until her coronation. And I mean, I'm not saying it isn't interesting, but do I really want to watch Edward and King George sort of somersaulting in their own garden together? I mean, I need a bit more than that.
Yeah, it's a shame. I mean, I would quite like to see the, do you remember the Royal Family documentary from 1969? I would quite
Oh
like to see
yeah,
that again, but I understand the Queen doesn't want it shown. But for me, that was I mean, I remember when it was out and it really was exciting, first glimpse of things like the Queen taking Prince Edward to buy an ice cream in a shop. That really was letting the sunlight in on the magic. So, I mean,
yeah.
essentially, all these programs just seem to me to be a real hagiography of how wonderful the Queen is. And yes, she is in many respects, but what's the future for the monarchy? That's the sort of program I would like to see, maybe in post Jubilee programming.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I agree. I think we need, I mean, we are wallowing quite seriously in nostalgia with all of these shows. I mean, that's why I recommend the Roger Michelle, because it's more authored, obviously,
Mm.
than someone putting together a group of home movies. And a home movie is necessarily going to be all very nice about everybody. And this is, and it's very well put together. It's as though the Queen is narrating it. So and the Queen has recorded the first minute or so of the narration, and then there's audio dotted throughout. So there's very clever storytelling from it, because it makes you think the Queen is contemporaneously narrating it, which of course she isn't. I mean, that would be an absolute miracle, and I probably wouldn't add much to it anyway. I mean, so bits of profundities from her own uh, Christmas messages and things like that are sprinkled throughout. I mean, I'd give it 3.5 stars for what it is, and fans of the royal family will absolutely love it as well.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? People are going to watch it because it's the Queen. But, the thing about the Queen is she's kind of largely unknowable, isn't she? Probably the
Yeah,
last
absolutely.
generation of royalty to be unknowable. And yeah, but as I say, I shall be doing the garden or something to the Jubilee. I mean, I think for me the big event is the Thanksgiving service, the big state thing, which is on Friday morning, and I'm sure Hugh Edwards will be, giving it large on the voiceover on that one. But yeah, not one for me. But have a nice time anyway, Mom.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, good luck to the royal family, and let's hope our friends Harry and Meghan don't spoil the party.
Oh yes, well Netflix will be busy nosing around that, won't they? Ooh.
They'll get some good stuff. Anyway, until next week, thank you, Claire.
Bye bye.
Bye. We'll leave you with some nice sound effects, everybody. See you next week.